My biggest flex is I've had 3 unmedicated home births all in under 3 hours. And when people hear this, of course, they ask me, how can I do the same? Tell me your ways. So I have boiled down everything I've learned from my own births as well as my work as a doula into 4 key concepts that I think most moms are missing and most birth classes do not teach. So hi, if you're new to the channel, my name is Cora. I usually do this episode with my husband, but because we're going to talk about birth today, I decided I would leave him out. My story is I've had 3 home births, unmedicated, obviously. Good job! All in under 3 hours. And when people hear that, they're of course like, how the heck did you do that? Because when you think about it, the average first-time mom, it's about 12 to 18 hours of labor. Second-time mom, it's like 6 to 8 hours. Mine are all under 3. My best time was an hour and 45 minutes, which is amazing. My friends were like, you give birth while we go to dinner. It's crazy. And, I thought long and hard about what I have done to prepare for this, and I boiled it down to 4 things, which I'm going to share with you guys today. Most birth classes only deal with the physical component of birth, and that's really important. It's important to know what's going on in your body. It's important to know the mechanisms, the physiology that's going on, but there's more to the story than just the physical. And I've seen so many moms give births that I thought were so prepared. And when I would look at it, there was always one component that was missing, which is the metaphysical or spiritual, emotional component. So these are all going to deal with that. I know it sounds woo-woo, but trust me, there's a lot going on underneath the surface that you aren't seeing. Of course, physical things are also important. It's really important to eat well. Nutrition is one of the biggest things that can affect your birth. And most of the complications that we see in pregnancy are all based on poor nutrition. So eating well, eating a lot of protein, keeping yourself satiated when you're hungry, making sure you're getting leafy greens, making sure you're getting fruits and vegetables. Iron is really important. Magnesium is important. There's different herbs that are really important, like red raspberry leaf tea and rose nettle tea. Those are 2 really good ones. There's a whole slew of minerals that you're supposed to be getting, and that's really important. And then there's exercise. So I find that Pilates is my favorite exercise to recommend to moms because it really strengthens your pelvic floor. It's really good for post-birth too, and it makes sure that your pelvic floor is both strong but flexible. And then Malasana squats are really important. There's a famous midwife who swears by Malasana squats a day. So that's just opening up your hips, giving yourself some hip mobility and flexibility so that you can birth this baby out. I also find that walking is good and anything endurance related because birth is an endurance event. And so it's important that you've been feeling comfortable pushing yourself to the limit.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
You don't want to necessarily be doing the craziest HIIT workout ever while you're pregnant, but if it's something that you have done before pregnancy, I'm pretty sure you're able to do it post. So don't pay attention to all the scares out there about what you can and can't do. There's a lot more things that you can do in birth than you thought. And if you don't trust me, there's a really great book by Professor Emily Oyster, and it's called Expecting Better. So get that book. But we're going to deal with not the physical today. We're going to deal with the emotional. So my first key takeaway, this is the most important one, is overcoming your fear around birth. And this can also be the trickiest one. And I'm not expecting you to go into the day of birth like telling me that you're not scared at all, because it is something really new and foreign. So you're going to have a little bit of fear. Even in my 3rd birth, I'd already done this so many times and seen people do it, I still had a little bit of nervous excitement, and that's okay. But I want to get away from this idea that women's bodies don't work that we see in the US and that birth is something to be scared of and to be feared. So I think a lot of that comes from 3 different things. It comes from your own mother, her birth. It comes from your peers, and it comes from media. I think it's really important to sit down with your mom and work through the birth story that she had, because you can also glean some really good insights into birth because you guys have the exact, like, very similar genetic makeup. So health issues are going to be very similar, and maybe your body anatomy will be similar. Don't feel like you have to take on everything from her birth, and you can decide what resonates with you that you want to take on and what is not for you, and you can leave that. The second one is our peers. We hear a lot of birth stories from our peers, and I would really ask that when you're pregnant, that you can make sure you don't ingest any negative birth stories. If someone tries to tell you their negative birth story, which insanely they will do, strangers at a post office will stop you while you're pregnant and tell you the worst story you've ever heard. And I think it's really, really respectful to yourself and your mental health for you to say, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm not open to any negative birth stories, and walk away. That's totally fine. It's rude for them to even tell you. You can also do that to your friends. And if they don't understand, I don't know if that's a friend you want to keep.
Daddy, chill.
But the third place where we see it, probably the most dangerous place, is from media. So whenever we see a woman give birth in TV and movie shows, for some reason, she's in hysterics, she's in so much pain, she's crying, she's begging for an epidural, she's throwing things at her husband. It's so dramatic. And I don't think it's that funny, if I'm being honest. And there's so many cultures around the world where this is not how they view birth. There's many cultures around the world where women from a young age are a part of birth, see birth happen. There's either people birthing in their tribe, in their unit, in their community, and they attend them. People are more like at one with animals, and they have livestock that they see give birth. I remember seeing a cow give birth when I was very young, and so did my husband. I think that really helped us just be like, oh, it's something that happens every day. And most of the time, it's not a medical emergency, it's just everyday life. There's a couple tribes. I know the Inuit in Alaska, the women don't make any noise when they give birth. And that's kind of a pride that they brag about. Not saying like, don't make any noise, because I don't want to judge anybody else's experience, but just saying that like you don't need to be screaming in agony like you see on TV. There's another really good birth video called Birthing in a Squatting Position, where it deals with women in South America who just squat down, give birth, and get back up and go back to work. And not saying that's something you should do either, but just saying there's so many different experiences around the world. And if women's bodies are all pretty much the same, how could it be that in the US we're screaming in agony and women in South America are like, whatever, this is nothing? Also, the Amish in Pennsylvania, they work like up until the moment of their birth, and then they give birth, and then it's like not this emergency hysterics. It's austere and it's revered, but it's like people are doing it every day, and it's like everyone who got to Earth was birthed in this way, so it's not treated as an emergency. Another important fact is like the US has a 30%, 33% C-section rate. And what that tells me is this narrative that women's bodies don't work and they aren't able to give birth. And this just is not true, because in other countries, particularly Northern Europe, the C-section rate is like 11 to 15%. So if women's bodies are pretty much the same around the world, why are we seeing such a smaller C-section rate in Northern Europe? It's either based on the narrative that they're playing in society about how possible birth is and how well your body can give birth, or it's the interventions in the hospital, and it could be both. But one important mantra for you to remember for this step is your body was made to do this, and to trust in your body's ability to birth, and just trust in your intuition regarding birth. One other important thing to note is there's such a thing as a fear pain spiral, which is when you're scared of something, it feels like stronger. The pain feels stronger. So your pain is subjective, and it can change based on if you're tired, if you're hungry, if you're cold. So we know that pain is something that can be experienced differently in different people and in different days. And when you think about how most people give birth in a hospital, there's bright lights, it's really cold, there's people disturbing you all the time, you're not able to like really get into a groove and like go inward. You're constantly being like prodded and measured and told numbers, and there's a clock probably ticking, and they have you on a clock and they're checking in on you all the time. You feel so rushed and watched and judged. And when animals give birth, when mammals give birth, they go somewhere really quiet what's safe, that nobody is watching them, and they know that if they're disturbed, their body's mechanisms can literally shut down, and any of the work that was done to bring baby closer to your pelvis is now lost because your body shifts into like a fear drive and you lose all of the hard work. So, not to say that you need to give birth at home. Obviously, wherever you feel safest is the most important place for you to give birth. And for some people, that's the hospital. For most people, that's the hospital. But being able to tailor the hospital experience to a temperature that you like, maybe bringing lots of cozy jackets and sweaters, packing snacks, because they make it so you can't eat at the hospital, or they have the worst snacks in the vending machine. I don't know why. But it's such a farce that you can't eat while you're in labor because eating really helps you have the energy you need to sustain labor. So, bringing some snacks, coconut water, dates, things that they allow, and then asking them not to disturb you too much. Putting a sign on that says, like, Mama in labor, please respect. Like, don't come in unless you have something really important to tell me. And that's where a doula is really handy, or a husband who's sassy, because you can like literally send them away. And I think people forget that in labor, you're the client, you're paying them, and they're not going to kick you out. There's no hospital in the world that would literally send you out while you're in labor. That would be a total medical like travesty. So feel like you have the sovereignty and authority to ask for what you want and not take anything on that you don't want. So make sure you feel comfortable and safe. Make sure this fear is gone, and you'll have a really powerful birth. The second key component is surrendering control. And this is important in so many ways. But women have, a lot of women I see have a problem with surrendering to the unknown. A lot of people have problems surrendering to the unknown. And I get it because it's scary. It's something you haven't ever done or experienced. And letting yourself be so raw and emotive feels really scary and vulnerable. It also doesn't help that you're half naked and all your private parts are on display.
You are disgusting. You'll never find love. Blech.
But to that, I just want to say that everyone has seen it all before who's there at your birth. They're looking at you very clinically. They're not judging you, and they've seen this probably 10 times that morning. So, releasing this shame and releasing the need to control and feel composed can really help your labor speed along. As a doula, they always say, like, check out how many clothes the woman is wearing, and you'll know how close you are to labor. If she answers the door fully naked, you're like, oh, she's about to give birth. Because trust me, in the moment, when all these endorphins and neurotransmitters are at play, you are not caring at all what people are thinking about you, the noises that you're making, the liquids that are coming out of your body. Because, yes, there's a ton of liquids coming out of your body, and they've seen it all before. A lot of women are so scared beforehand and wondering if they're going to poop. And to that, I say, like, a lot of times you don't even know that you did poop, and who cares? Your doula and your midwife or your nurse and your doctor have seen it all before. They quickly clean it up. Trust me. So just don't even let any of this take up any energy or space in your head. The other thing I want to talk about with letting go of control is birth plans. I think birth plans are really popular in the US because we love to control, we love to plan, we love everything to be exactly how we expect it. And we're letting go of these expectations and letting go of the control about exactly how it needs to be is also really powerful. What I like clients to do is write down a birth vision where they write down feelings that they want to feel in their birth. So that can be, I want to feel safe, I want to feel embodied, I want to feel powerful. Those can happen no matter what the circumstance of your birth. What I don't like to see is like, I want to give birth in the birth tub. I want the Beethoven's 17th symphony playing as baby's crowning. Like, those are specific, and that's setting you up for failure, because if you don't exactly follow that plan, then you're let down or your expectations are lost. And that's when we see moms have birth trauma or blaming or judging themselves. Even if you had thought, like, I'm no way am I going to do pain meds, absolutely not. None of my friends did, and I don't want to do them. There is a time and a place for pain meds too. And not getting so dogmatic about one way or another is really important. Letting birth flow, letting birth unfold, there's twists and turns to it. and like knowing your values and staying true to those, but not being so set on an exact event. So, what's really important is to also think through all the different things that can happen in a birth. And even if you're like, no way am I having a C section, that might happen in your birth. And thinking about it beforehand and thinking about what you want done if you have a C section can really be powerful. So, in the moment, you're not just like bombarded with this thing, this like nightmare that you didn't want to happen and you didn't even want to think about it. So, you didn't plan for any certain things that you could do to control it to make it feel more um, empowering like you wanted. And I just want to say that there is a time and a place for everything. Sometimes a mom has been in labor 19 hours and her uterus is so exhausted and she literally can't sleep. And then she's not going to have enough energy to push baby out. And it could be a C section if she doesn't get sleep. That's when an epidural is amazing. And you can put a low epidural on. She can go to sleep. She can rest up. And when she wakes up, she can push baby out and still have a dream vaginal birth. So knowing that there's scenarios where everything is allowed and everything is valued and not feeling any shame, releasing all these controls can be really, really powerful. My third tip is to stay in your body. And by this, I mean be really embodied in your birth. Feel everything that's going on so that you can be aware. Your body can work with you and tell you, like, move this way, move to this position, like, stand up, switch on your side. Like, so many things can be communicated to you from baby about what's the best way to birth if you stay really in tune with your body and stay really connected. And it's really important for moms to get out of the mental monkey brain that's judging, that's reflecting, that's measuring, that's like planning. Get out of that sense and into your body, into the more emotive. And in labor, we even like don't want to ask mom too many questions that involve like the rational brain. We don't want to ask about time. We don't want to ask anything that's like not a yes or no question. And even dad, like, please don't come to her and say, like, what would you like to eat? Like, maybe just bring over some dates. And maybe it's a yes, maybe it's a no. But the least amount that we get mom out of her, like, emotive body and into the rational thinking, the better. And that goes back to the whole body mechanics that's going on during birth. It gets like shut off if you're disturbed. So being embodied, and then this is where like a meditation practice or studying something like hypnobirthing can be really powerful, is thinking about those contractions like we think about thoughts when we're meditating. So a thought can pop in. You don't need to attach yourself to the thought. It's presence and not resistance. So you allow it, you give it presence, you don't resist it, you let it be, and it will pass. And that's how contractions are. You can be aware of it, you can be aware of the sensation, you can observe it, but do not attach yourself to it. Don't attach yourself to the pain. And it sounds like, oh, that's easy for you to say, but yeah, it is easy for me to say. I did 3 births like this. It really, really works. So practice this before you're in labor. Do something like cold plunge. Do something like, I have a nail bed, which sounds psychotic, but something where you're like aware of a sensation that is uncomfortable and allowing yourself to be there with an uncomfortable sensation without having to numb it, without having to disassociate, which is what pain meds are. When you get an epidural, you're completely dissociated from any of these pains. And although I did just say there's a time and place for it, there totally is. But you try not to use it when you're going through the final stages of labor because your body is communicating with you in these final stages of like when to push. And if you are not able to feel your body's natural urge to push, if you're feeling either a Pitocin push contraction or if you have an epidural so you're not feeling anything, it's going to make pushing a lot harder. And actually, it can lead to really bad outcomes like forceps, vacuum, tears. Look it up. It increases all of those. So, time and place for those, but not during the final stages of labor. And being really aware of your body and what it's doing in labor helps in this last stage so much and can cut down on the time when you're doing the final stages of birth, the more heavy lifting of birth, and the transitional crowning steps. My last takeaway is to embrace transformation. So we think a lot about birth as a delivery of a baby. We don't think as much about how it's actually the birth of a new mom too. So we're spending all this time prepping about baby, but we don't think about how we are going to be reborn with a new identity, and it's a big shift. You're going from a maiden identity where you had zero responsibility, you could do whatever you wanted, you didn't have anybody counting on you for life or death, to a mother, which once you're a mother, you're always a mother. You always have someone who's depending on you in a beautiful, beautiful way, of course, but it is something to contemplate and think about. So this stage of labor is, funny enough, called transitional labor, and it's where a baby is moving through your pelvic canal and out your vagina. And a lot of people think this is the most painful part of birth. And in my opinion, it's not. In my opinion, it's an odd feeling of surrender and complete openness and expansiveness that some people aren't comfortable with. But it's not painful. They talk about the ring of fire where a baby is crowning. To me, that didn't feel like anything. And there's a lot of science that tells you like there's so much going on in the lips of your vagina. There's so many sensations that actually overwhelms your brain and it doesn't feel like anything. Plus, your body is releasing so many endorphins that you're not feeling it. You're on this insane oxytocin high. And let me tell you, birth is the best drug in the world. I swear, if men were able to give birth, they wouldn't do such crazy things like jump out of skyscrapers and like not eat for 27 days in the woods. Like they are searching for this high that we get to do in life. And I know that makes me sound crazy, but look at any woman's eyes in a photo of her and her newborn. They have this insane joy and highness, and it could be the epidural, but it is also most definitely the oxytocin that's released in this stage of labor and beyond. There's nothing like this feeling of pushing your baby out and having the relief of them in your arms. And this transformation, I'm getting goosebumps, but this is where it starts, where you then become a mother. And it is such a beautiful experience. And I hope that dealing and thinking and contemplating about all the stages that you need to go through to get to this transition can help prepare you in a good way. So you walk through this door that you cannot go back through. You are now a mother. And if you've processed this beforehand, not in the moment of birth, it's a lot easier because you're dealing with this huge transformation. And then all of a sudden someone hands you a newborn, which you have to take care of. So it's really helpful if you do this work beforehand. But that is to say, it's the best work in the world. I love being a mother. I think there needs to be more things out there in media talking about how amazing it is to have people who rely on you and need you for everything. And less stories about like, negativity around births. So hopefully this will be one of those. If you are pregnant and you like this, leave a comment, like, subscribe, send it to a friend of yours who's pregnant as well. Please help spread this channel. If you loved this topic and it really resonated with you, I do one-on-one calls with people. You can send me an email and we can talk through your exact experiences because these are all tailored to your specific life and your specific experiences. So we can do a one-on-one. And then, of course, this episode was brought to you by Four Sigmatic. And for today's product, I chose the protein matcha because, hello, matcha mama, this is amazing for moms. You need a little bit of caffeine when you're a new mom because you probably didn't sleep well at night. You're being woken up all the time, but you don't want too much caffeine because, you might have a nap later with your kiddo. So matcha is the perfect middle ground. There's protein in it, which helps with healing from the crazy endurance event that you just went through, birth. It helps postpartum with all sorts of things that need to be repaired, collagen. And then it's also got creatine, and creatine is so important for women. It's so important for mood and sleep and all the mental things. It's helping with your mom brain. So try it out. There's a special code and link for our followers, subscribers. So check that out below. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and congrats on this new path and journey that you're on.